Good afternoon, Patriots. This is Praying Medic, and this is my QAnon update for Thursday, December 20th, 2018. Q has been dropping a few posts over the last couple of days, so I'll get you all caught up. Those of you doing your own decodes at home, you can find Q posts on a number of different websites, including qmap.pub. If you have an Android phone and you'd like to get Q notifications on your phone, you can get Q drops or Q alerts in the Play Store. Not available on iPhones right now. My theme for this update is D-Day. Q posted a link to an article lampooning those who hoped that General Flynn would be cleared of all charges in his sentencing hearing on December 18th. The article particularly takes aim at conspiracy theorists and Q people who believed that General Flynn would be exonerated of all charges and that he is part of a secret operation. I had a dream actually the morning of the 17th, and as much as I hoped that General Flynn would be cleared, I had the dream that showed a lot of confusion on social media about the hearing. So I opted not to make any predictions about how that hearing was going to turn out. Q posted a link to that article about the far-right conspiracy theorists are left wanting with General Flynn's disposition. And in that hearing, Judge Sullivan, because General Flynn is still cooperating with the DOJ in investigations, agreed to extend his sentencing for another 90 days. So I believe it's going to be in March when they'll have a status update. So Q posted this, it's a link to the article, and wrote, "The clock is ticking. When will the first alarm ring? If the Senate was the primary target, majority control, 5347 is active when?" That would be January 3rd, when the new session of Congress is sworn in. The executive order designated targets active when? I believe Q is talking about the military tribunals executive order. That part of the changes of that executive order become active on January 1st. Then Q writes ongoing investigations. That is what we know from the testimony last week in the congressional hearing about the Clinton Foundation. We found out that there are ongoing investigations, and then Q has some quotes here. There are a lot of sealed indictments. That's from SC Sarah Carter on the Hannity Show about a week ago. It's all going to come out, Uranium One, dossier, Clinton Foundation, etc. SH, that's Sean Hannity. I have pretty good sources. Sean Hannity again. There's a reason why Sean Hannity, Sarah Carter, and John Solomon, JS, are on the stage. Q. Let's look at what Sarah Carter, John Solomon, and Sean Hannity had to say.
William Campbell spoke to the Little Rock, Arkansas FBI field office recently, and he delivered that information. And now we know there's other whistleblowers coming forward. So something is shifting, something is happening, and Hillary Clinton and the foundation are being investigated. We'll just have to wait and see what they find.
I know everybody's frustrated because this has only been a one-sided investigation. So it won't been all things Trump. But, and I think you all will confirm with me, is that my sources tell me all of this is coming out, from the dossier to FISA abuse to the Uranium One deal. All agree?
Hope you're right.
I agree. Lots of sealed indictments, Sean. Lots of sealed indictments.
I have very good sources. I really do. And you guys do too. Great work, all three.
The president signed this executive order that makes changes to the court-martial system. And I guess my question is, why would he make changes to the court-martial system if he wasn't going to utilize them? And those changes go into effect January 1st. Next session of Congress goes into session on January 3rd. Q wrote this: "Why does the fake news media continually attack a, as they say, so-called only a conspiracy, nothing to see here, lonely guy behind a keyboard movement? The largest media companies in the world giving so much attention. Washington Post leading the attack. Logical thinking always wins," right? If Q is a LARP, why so much attack? Why so much attention? Q is definitely getting in somebody's face and is making all the right people angry. Q posted a link to a video. If you haven't watched this video, you might want to catch it. I am not going to post it because I don't want to get a copyright strike on my channel. And then Q writes, this is not another 4-year election. Listen very carefully. Power return to the people. Long-term solutions. Panic. Q. You can find this on YouTube. This video will get Donald Trump elected. Now we have this post, D in brackets, day, Patriots, so D-Day. We will have our country back, Q+. From previous drops and from the signature that we got on the photo by VIP Anon, we believe Q+ is actually the president, so he posted this. I want to give you a little bit of backstory on D-Day during World War II, the Battle of Normandy, which lasted from June of 1944 to August of 1944, resulted in the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi Germany's control. The operation was actually named Operation Overlord, and it began on June 6th. That day was known as D-Day. It was a landing when 156,000 American, British, and Canadian forces landed on 5 different beaches along a 50-mile stretch of the French coastline. It was heavily fortified with German artillery. The invasion was one of the largest amphibious military assaults in history, required extensive planning. Prior to D-Day, the Allies conducted a large-scale deception campaign designed to mislead the Germans about the intended target. Kind of like what Trump and his people are doing with the deep state. There is a major deception campaign going on right now. By late August 1944, all of northern France had been liberated, and by the following spring, the Allies had defeated the Germans. The Normandy landings have been called the beginning of the end of the war in Europe. So there is another interpretation of D-Day. Just wanted to kind of run this past you. Since Q's operation involves military intelligence, let's look at the way that the military uses the term D-Day in kind of a generic fashion. D-Day indicates the day when an operation or an attack is about to be initiated, when the day is undetermined, or when secrecy is required. They just use kind of the generic term D-Day, or if they're talking about an hour, it's H hour. If you want to refer to something in relation to D-Day, you might say D+3, which would mean 3 days after D-Day, whatever day that is. So D-Day does have a military application that's just specific to what they do. Q's operation is leading to the day when corrupt people in government, the media, entertainment, and the corporate world are going to be arrested. I've had a number of dreams from God that seem to indicate that there is going to be a day, a specific day, or maybe 2 or 3 days, when mass arrests are going to happen. However, I don't know if Q wants us to try to guess a specific day on the calendar that this is going to happen. I think Q is suggesting that a day is coming when that is going to happen, and we just need to wait for it. All right, we have this drop from Q. It includes an old post from last December. It's got a ton of brackets and acronyms and abbreviations. It's really relatively easy to decode. The only part you need to worry about is the part that Q highlighted here. So link to an article confirming that an aide to John McCain gave BuzzFeed the Steele dossier. And then Q writes, McCain Associates shared unverified Steele dossier with BuzzFeed. Court filing says. There is a drop from December 22nd, 2017. U.S. Senator, no name, John McCain. News shop. He shopped the dossier around to news outlets. BuzzFeed took him up on the offer. Then Q writes, news unlocks. You have the keystone, Q. So that is the only part of this post on the left-hand side that is relevant. Q is simply telling us that he informed us a year ago that it would be confirmed at some point that McCain was responsible for getting the Steele dossier in the hands of BuzzFeed. An allegation that McCain had always denied. He said he did not give BuzzFeed the dossier, but now we know that he did. And so to Q skeptics, I would ask, how did Q know a year ago McCain was BuzzFeed's source for the Steele dossier when McCain and his people had continually denied that he was a source? All right, we have that same drop posted by Q again here on the left, and then there's another drop that has tons and tons of code. Q posted a link to the same article and then wrote this: future proves past, news unlocks, you have more than you know. There is a quote from the article, and House Speaker Paul Ryan's Chief of Staff, John Burks. When did Ryan announce he was retiring? Why would the Speaker of the House retire? I think it's because he got caught red-handed, and they had him dead to rights, and I think Trump's people used leverage over him to get him to retire. Sometimes reading between the lines demonstrates those complicit in treasonous or traitorous acts are no longer or soon to be in positions of power. Q has been telling us for a long time that although Ryan was found to be complicit, they got leverage on him and they forced him to step down. Was Ryan forced out of office? Yes, he was. Republicans easier to remove than Dems. Actually, a lot more Republicans decided not to run for office than Dems because Dems are digging in their heels and they are trying to oppose the president. Dems are holding on to power as long as possible, hoping to sway pending action, in brackets cover. Right? They're trying to stop what is about to happen, the arrests and the declassification. Q writes, think D-class, think SC. That is, could be special counsel, could be Supreme Court. Sometimes SC is Sarah Carter. I don't think it is this time, though. Q writes, how many senior FBI and DOJ officials have been removed? None left by choice. Nothing to see here. Nothing is being done. The biggest accurate conspiracy. Fake news attacks demonstrate what? Fake news attacks demonstrate that you are over the target. Q. In that one post, Q mentioned the word Keystone. A lot of people are wondering what that's about. So for those of you who are new, and maybe for some of you who are not new, let me talk a little bit about Keystone. In that December 22nd drop that Q posted, there Q said you have the Keystone. The word Keystone appears in 8 different posts. The first 6 of them tell us to find the Keystone or identify what it is. This is an example. From November 20th of last year, POTUS opened the door of all doors. Expand your thinking. What is the Keystone? So then on December 5th, Q wrote, key unlocks the door of all doors, information. Stone, the force or strength capable of yielding power to act on the information. Key plus stone equals. And then an anon made a guess. Military intelligence, no such agency, NSA, equals the key. POTUS and Patriots equal the stone. Q confirmed that that was correct by reposting that drop. All right. In this post from the same day, December 5th, Q wrote, Admiral R, no such agency, parentheses, W and W, plus POTUS and the U.S. military equals blank. Apply the Keystone, paint the picture, Q. All right. Admiral Rogers and no such agency are the wizards and warlocks. The Keystone, which is the information we get from the NSA and the president, allows us to paint a full picture of what's going on. In the question and answer session from the 12th, one of the Anons asked, Q, please tell us who or what the wizards and warlocks are. Well, here's your answer. It was Admiral Rogers and no such agency. Admiral Rogers retired back in the spring, and General Nakasone is now head of NSA. All right. Q posted this. There's a link to an article about, it's kind of sad, it's a hit piece on the president because he has so many military flags in the Oval Office, way more than any other president in recent history. Q wrote, Anons know why. Q. We do know why. It's because the president understands the military and he supports them and they support him. It's a link to the article. The FBI Twitter account announced that Director Chris Wray had just completed visits to all 56 FBI field offices. Here's the tweet. This week, FBI Director Wray completed his visits to all 56 FBI field offices, beginning at FBI Knoxville in September of 2017, so that was 15 months ago, and ended yesterday at FBI Tampa. Director Wray has the honor of seeing the great work the men and women of the FBI are doing every day throughout the country and the world. Well, Chris Wray has a lot of work to do to restore the integrity and the confidence of the American people in the FBI. Q wrote this. There's a link to the FBI status and asked, why would FBI director take all the time to visit all 56 FBI field offices around the entire United States? Completed this week. Logical thinking, Q. Well, some people would say it's just part of his job as director. I think there is something going on that is not obvious to the casual observer. I don't know what that is, but there is some kind of significant purpose for that, and I guess we'll find out in the future what that is. And Anon posted a couple of headlines saying that Matt Whitaker was cleared by the DOJ and does not have to recuse himself for the Mueller investigation. He wrote no recusal. Q wrote old news. Q. We've known that for quite some time. Q said Whitaker was not going to recuse himself. It was revealed today that Democrat operatives created fake Russian social media accounts in an attempt to connect Roy Moore with Russia during his run for the U.S. Senate. He was a candidate from Alabama. There's a link there, and this pull quote here says, "We orchestrated an elaborate false flag operation that planted the idea that Moore campaign was amplified on social media by the Russian botnet." Q posted a link to that article and wrote, "The D party, D is in brackets, will cease to exist once it's all exposed. Fake news can no longer control, in brackets, dampen public awareness of the truth, dark to light, Q." So another possible interpretation for D-Day would be the doom of the D party. This morning, Q posted this, Alice and Mad Hatter, Q. There's no context, there's no information, there's no links. It's just Alice and Mad Hatter. So I'm guessing that they will be back in the news sometime soon. Let's do a little review of who Alice and Mad Hatter are. In November of 2017, Q signed quite a few posts with the signature Alice in Wonderland. On November 4th, Q explained that signature Alice in Wonderland is Hillary in Saudi Arabia. References were Hillary Clinton in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, it's a book, and Saudi Arabia, The Bloody Wonderland. Earlier this year, through FOIA, we learned that in emails Marty Torre had sent to Hillary, he referred to himself as the Hatter and Hillary as Madam Alice. Today, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis announced that he's going to be stepping down in February. It seemed as though that is a result of a conversation that General Mattis and the President had over withdrawing troops from Syria. Apparently, Mattis did not want to withdraw troops from Syria. Trump insisted that we get our troops out. In his resignation letter, Mattis mentioned that the President deserves a defense secretary whose thinking is more in line with his. Apparently, Mattis and Trump have some irreconcilable differences. So Mattis will be stepping down effective in February. It'll give the President some time to find a replacement. Q posted this, asking if we've noticed a pattern in resignations and retirements. Rogers, departure, Intel. Sessions, departure, law. Kelly, departure, warfare, military. That's Chief of Staff, General Kelly. Mattis, departure, warfare, military. Notice a pattern, Q. This is my best guess. I'm not sure that I'm right. Admiral Rogers departed the NSA Cyber Command only after the world's premier intel agency was safely in the hands of General Paul Nakasone. Jeff Sessions departed the Department of Justice only after it had been cleaned out of corrupt people and could safely be turned over to Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, who I believe has a difficult job to do between now and February, when William Barr will be confirmed as the permanent AG. General Kelly, President's Chief of Staff, his primary role, as far as I can see, was to remove leakers and traitors from the White House. Once that was done, it was safe and necessary to appoint a replacement. Mick Mulvaney is working currently as Chief of Staff. We don't have a permanent or full-time replacement yet. General Mattis, as far as I can see, his primary role with the President as Secretary of Defense was overseeing the destruction of ISIS. That has been accomplished. The President wants to bring the troops home now from Syria. Mattis didn't want the troops to come home from Syria. They've had disagreements about that. Achieving Trump's goals now is going to require somebody with a different skill set and a worldview. Q then posted this: chemical attack in Syria, public pullout of troops in Syria. History will not repeat itself this time. Q. Syria is a high-risk location for incidents that demand military intervention, including the possibility of false flags and CIA operations. If our troops aren't there, we have less of a chance to be drawn into one of those battles. I would imagine the President's thinking along the same lines when he announced a drawdown of troops in Afghanistan. He has ordered the reduction in troop strength of about 50%, and it looks like it may be an eventual complete pullout of our troops in Afghanistan. That makes me wonder if Erik Prince is going to be given a chance to go into Afghanistan and clean up what has not been done by the military in the last 17 years. There's been a lot of chatter about that. I wouldn't be surprised if Prince is given a chance to let his private army go in there and take care of things, because we're not really making a whole lot of progress the conventional way. Of course, neocons and military-industrial complex shills are freaking out about Trump's decision to bring our troops home from Syria. But I believe the President is well advised, and he is intent on keeping his promise to bring our troops home. Promises made, promises kept. So be encouraged, Patriots. Keep us in prayer. Keep Q and the team in prayer. Keep the President in prayer. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing this on social media. That is all I have for you on this update. This is Prairie Medic signing off. I will catch you on the next broadcast.